the Sunday crew. Geeking out is what we do. Giggle on, it's gonna be great. Don't be late, let's celebrate. Science fiction on a screen so bright. Old classics and the new delights. The unapologetic geek will lead the way, with facts and fun to fill your day. Discussing every detail, every frame, from the eerie to the loud and the same. Giggle along with all that's great. Those Sunday vibes you can't debate. Tug along with the Sunday crew. Geeking out is what we do. Giggle on, it's gonna be great. Don't be late, let's celebrate.
Great song.
Yeah, it is
Welcome
cool.
to
I'm sitting here
Cat.
dancing.
Yeah, Tracy was rocking out. I don't know if the rest of you could have seen that.
Nope, but we lost Pons.
Pons. He froze like
Pons, come back.
less than 2 seconds in.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, well, this is a great song. And he's like, I got him.
I shouldn't laugh. After last week, I
should.
should not laugh.
Yeah, exactly. It happens. Let's see. Okay. So welcome to spooky season. It is now officially Halloween, according to me and my son. My wife disagrees. She thinks Halloween's just on October 31st, and the rest of this month is called October, which is dumb because it's not the 8th month; it's the 10th month. What are you talking about?
All right.
So let's say hi to Vim. Vanderstraten is here. Some biting content.
Hey,
Yes.
hey.
Indie Spoats channel member is here. It won't suck because there's a lot at stake.
I made a stuff joke too.
Oh goodness. Let's see. I saw before it reset. I saw Michael DeCosimo was in the chat. Danny Staten is here. Somebody said you better not mention Twilight, and just for the record, if anybody mentions Twilight, they're going to be kicked off the stream.
I'm not a fan of that. So never saw it.
But yes, we are going to be talking about vampire movies today, obviously.
That won't suck.
I was originally going to just make it one episode, and maybe I still will. It's going to depend on how far we get. Because when I started making a list, my list became really, really long. So we'll see how it goes. But if Thrash comes back, he's been trying to come in, but has been having some technical issues. Oh, wait, there he is.
Oh,
Yay!
he's back. You did it.
So if you had on your card less than 2 seconds, you win.
It was an internet. My internet went down for a second, but it came back on.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, sure.
the Pratt Club shot was the same.
No,
Christopher Lee
I actually prior while we were all sitting here waiting, I actually had that issue really briefly that it said that my internet went down. So yeah. I hear you.
That was me all last week.
Yep.
We're in like different parts of the country. That's weird that it would happen simultaneously, almost.
It's a plot against the vampires or something.
Right.
It's a solar flare. That's all.
Big Brother's watching both of us.
Oh, I forgot to go out and check out. I forgot that there was the Aurora last night, and I was going to drive out and see it. Oh well.
Yeah, I can't see.
Apparently, you could see it as far south as even Chicago, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Your mom's Chicago. Okay.
Let's see. Yes, there is going to be a new Nosferatu. Actually, there's one that's like a streaming version that comes out this month, starring Doug Jones as Nosferatu. But that's like the lesser known one. There's a Robert Eggers one coming out on Christmas with the guy who played Pennywise. I can't remember his name. He's one of the Skarsgårds. He plays Nosferatu, and I'm excited about that because I like Rodger Let's just say Eggers, Robert Eggers. I like Robert Eggers. He's an acquired taste. A lot of people don't like him. They think he's pretentious. But if you've been on my channel long enough, you know I like pretentious.
He's a wicked ham. That's what they call him. Ham and Eggers.
Yeah,
Oh.
nice.
Well played.
And yes,
Well
Willem
played.
Dafoe is in the new Nosferatu, and he also played Max Shrek
Oh.
in Shadow the Vampire, which
Yep.
tried to envision it where Max Shrek actually was a vampire. It was kind of a fun movie. I remember that. Bill, thank
I
you.
love the
Bill
concept.
Skarsgård. Anyway, say hi to Sarah
Hi, Sarah.
and
So,
Harold.
Hi.
Smile.
Harold.
Don't just smile, smile.
We got Thrash down here.
I
We got,
heard about
Mr.
him.
Pickles is owner over here.
I own a pickles. don't
We have
you?
Mr.
Don't you get
Morris
pickles?
behind me today.
Oh, okay. I guess you are also a Pickles owner, Sarah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
this is mine's a bird. Just come on now.
Mine's a stuffed frog, and I don't have it in this room at the moment.
Well, next show we'll have to do the bring your pickles, okay? Yeah,
I brought my pickle.
We'll bring your
Sure,
pickles
that-
stream.
yeah, I'll bring your pickle stream. I'll bring my pickles, or bring your pickles, and have a we'll talk about pickles. So it'll be
Okay.
great.
And last but certainly not least, we have Tracy in the corner there with her wonderful, wonderful glasses.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Could you see me guys in the pair of those? I'd be like, cool. I'd be like, hey everybody, I'm actually cool now. And they'd be like, yeah, there you are.
You could order them online.
Oh, that would stop telling me how to get my dreams to come true. Dang it. Okay, I'll take a look at that.
But anyway,
Now Damien's the only one who isn't wearing glasses.
that's true.
Oh my.
Damien's different.
Damien
Slacker.
is the
Well-
biggest rebel on this panel. Never a hat,
Well,
never
if-
glasses.
If I want to read something, then I have to put these on. But that's just stuff
Oh.
down there, not up here. I can see the screen just fine. Thank you.
Superman.
Yeah,
Got the readers. Got the readers.
yeah. I've gotten to that age.
So anyone else?
Yeah.
Anyone else kind of feel like Tracy's got the Eartha Kitt glasses on?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Like I said,
pshaw.
I got it.
Pshaw.
I love it. I love it.
Indy misses your fake piano in the background.
Oh, yeah, well, today I'm in my room. Finally.
Oh, and happy Rosh Hashanah, Tracy.
Well,
Oh,
thank
yes.
you very much. Yeah. I'm celebrating by getting my tooth pulled on Thursday.
Oh,
Oh.
Ew.
So I've
Fun.
got good drugs.
That's-
Woohoo.
Yeah,
That's
that
right.
sounds good. Yeah.
the
Oh,
last
anyway.
game.
The
Because
last
your
time I
list
had
is
pulled,
so
I was like
long,
Hey,
Sorry, go ahead,
Andy.
Nate.
and
Go
yeah, they didn't give me any painkillers back then. They was like, here, take Tylenol.
Dude,
Anyway.
I got another tooth I need to get fixed, so I got the money for it now. I gotta get it fixed. So hopefully I won't have the same issues I had with this last one where the stupid temp crown kept falling off and then I swallowed it. I guess I never found it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Meow.
Oh, my wonderful patron Keith E is also here. He's going to be lurking in the background.
Oh.
Keith.
Keith to the power of 3.
Those... what does that mean?
Oh,
It's
boy.
my little way of saying
What's that
hello.
equation?
Do I have it?
Ah,
Here
He
we go.
always says my
Five
name
times
3
five.
times. He says my
The
name.
cat.
Are you Beetlejuice? Wait, are you Beetlejuice?
I must be.
That explains everything.
Hey, I'm Mitch.
Oh, I've got that cat. Yeah, I love that cat. Oh, it's been so long.
Thrash, did you freeze again?
Yep.
Like, he hasn't moved in a minute.
Oh,
I'm gonna leave until when I come on. When I actually, I'll do a little reboot thing then. But for now, I'll just sort of interject in still frame.
It kind of looks like you're disgusted by the comment.
Yeah. Like, what did they just say?
Tired of this.
I beg your pardon. What I think your majesty was that like a jelly donut.
I'll be right back. So sorry.
Oh, go for it. It's fine.
You can leave. It's fine.
But anyway, since my list is so long, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Oh.
And I want to start with Let the Right One In. This is the original Swedish version, not the Americanized Let Me In or whatever it's called. This is kind of a neat idea in that it's about a bullied young boy who it's like, I think it's set in the 80s. The movie was made in like 2004 or something like that. And it's about a bullied kid who, there's a new neighbor moves in to their, like, it feels like a motel, but it's I guess it's just like the projects or something. And there's what looks like a little girl moves in, and they become friends, even though she doesn't want to become friends. She says, "You don't want to be friends with me." And then Harold, nice hat, of course.
Right.
Of course, it turns out this
Yeah.
little girl is actually a vampire, and she's just like having people brought to her room by her, what she claims is her father, but is really like her what's the word,
Pimp.
the human that like serves a vampire. What are they called? Thrall.
Oh, a familiar.
A familiar.
Or day
familiar.
warrior.
Promoters.
Or day warrior.
One of those. So like the movie is more,
progeny.
it's more Carmilla than Dracula. It's more like a dark romance between children. Like it's kind of, it sounds off and weird because it kind of is. And it's the fact that if you watch it in the original Swedish, it adds that extra layer of just oddity because I don't know, because it's a foreign movie, it just feels a little off. And I really respect that, and I love the tone of this movie. And it gets really dark and really gory in very unexpected places. Like, it kind of feels like a slow burn, and then all of a sudden it's in your face. You know, it's one of those kind of movies. But I really like it, and it's very, very beautifully shot. It is one of the prettiest vampire movies I've seen in a very long time. So I wanted to start with that
Pretty.
to give you an idea of like the kind of vampire movies I'm into. So has anybody else seen it or seen the Americanized version? Let me in.
I haven't seen it. I've seen many retrospects on it, either on top 10 lists or just horror discussions or foreign film discussions. It looks amazing.
It
It's
is
been on
very
my
good.
watch bucket list for a couple years now.
I just I'm sorry, but it's just watching Pons talk when he just looks so disgusted. It's great. This movie's really cool. Here's why, but I hate it really because my face.
Oh,
No, we lost him. He's gone. He's embarrassed.
No.
It's like this to be crazy. It'll be like, you know, he'll like that, and you know, I won't be like, but I can't now because he's just like it's a serious point about.
Sarah.
So
Oh,
I haven't
He's gone.
I love Pons.
I haven't seen the American version of Let Me In, but I have seen the Swedish Let the Right One In.
Yeah, I mean, it's better. The American version actually isn't that bad, but the Swedish version is definitely better.
Hi, Pons.
Yeah, I just haven't seen that. Like, that's actually Let Me In is one that I was like interested in watching. I just haven't seen it yet. But like, yeah, no. So, but they are based on the same. They're
based on
right?
the same. It's a book. Like they're both based on the same
Yeah.
book, and I think
Okay.
a lot of the same crew was involved. It wasn't the same director, but a lot of the same crew was used in both movies. So like, they do feel very similar. It's definitely got some of the Americanized tropes to it, like the pacing, the pointless jump scares, stuff like that. So.
Right. Yeah, no. Like yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk about both of them since they're similar or just one.
They're basically the same movie, just one's more
Yeah.
Americanized. That's all. But I
Yeah,
like the Swedish version better.
I loved that one, especially like from a youthful perspective and everything. So
Yeah, like I said.
no, I was sitting there and I was like, wait, what am I doing? I can't be in here and disappoint like Indy and all of his wonderful like commentary about the hat and stuff like that. And so
I also
Still,
want to say hi
like-
to Slasher Fred. I'm not going to highlight his comment because that's a movie that's on my list.
Well, all right then.
So has anybody else seen? Am I the only one who's actually seen it?
I have
Well,
not seen it.
okay.
Yeah, no.
I've
Sorry.
never even heard of it, so
it's
Yeah, I've
very
heard of
good.
it. I just haven't seen it.
yeah, I don't want one of the movies that suck or about sucking. That's not right. You know what? I'm not into big vampire movies a lot.
And because it's from the point of view of a child, it has this like really kind of depressing tone where like you're watching like the death of innocence and stuff like that. And if you're a parent, that makes it even harder. And you know, I am a parent, makes it harder. But like I don't know, that also makes it more powerful as a horror movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and to me, it plays into the concept of vampirism and that concept of humanity and losing one's humanity, because like how many of us like empathize with a cow, right? Because if you truly empathize with it, you can't eat it, right? And so in order to be so in order to truly like, so we dissociate like that this steak in front of us, like if we sat there and we watched the whole process and then we got that steak, most people would not be able to eat that steak. Okay, especially if like you befriend it and you like it's your pet, or like if we were to take your cat and or your dog and we were to like
Morris, don't you
right, if
Morris.
and we were to like slaughter and then turn it into like little steaks, and no, I'm not getting political with this, but like, and get into little steak, then we would like we wouldn't be able to eat that. A, partially because it's cat and dog, but B, because like there's this emotional connection with it, right? So in order to become a vampire and feed off of other people, you have to dissociate yourself from the fact that you were once human, right? You have to identify yourself no longer as them. You can't see yourself as connected to them. Otherwise, it's hard to feed, right?
You have
And
to
it's
start
more
seeing them as the cattle,
Right,
That's
exactly.
gotta be your mindset is that they're just food. But
That's why the dish of the day sket in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is so funny, and why it works so well is because like the meal comes out and says, "Okay, you can. What part of me would you like to eat today?" And
Right.
right.
I'll be
No, I
very
don't want
humane.
to. Version.
So-
Was that the doctor played that part? Peter
yeah, it was one of the
Davison?
doctors who played it.
Yeah.
The worst doctor. That's right, I went there.
Fresh,
With
tell
that
us
look
how
on
you
your
really
face, I
feel.
believe it. He's the worst.
Yeah, no, like he is not happy
face
with
is
my
perfect.
response.
He's
Yeah.
like, I disapprove this. I was discussing
Yes,
this.
I
disapprove now.
I fie on you, but no, yeah. So I think in using a child, like it really connects with that so much, and really plays into that loss of innocence, loss of humanity. Like, because again, as we get older, we get so cynical, whereas kids still have the wonder, the belief that this could be a good place.
Me? Cynical?
Right? There's a good, right, and so. Tying that to a child, it gets into the best parts of humanity, right? And then the loss of that, it's so well done. It's so well done on so many different layers. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so I highly recommend it. Sarah.
Oh, I see. I can't remember the name of the movie. I used to think it was called one thing, and everybody told me that it wasn't. So then I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, my favorite vampire movie of all time is the one with Leslie Nielsen in it, of course.
Dracula Dead
Oh.
Loving It.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one. I
one.
freaking love that movie. It's so funny. I mean, people are like, "No, Lost Boy's the best." No, it's not. Have you seen that? Leslie Nielsen, comedy gold. Anyway, so yeah. Lost
That
Boys
one
is
has
okay.
a lot of good in jokes if like you're, a fan
Yep.
of classic Hollywood and know a lot about the 1931 Dracula. Like there's a lot
Mhm.
of in
Yeah.
jokes there.
Yeah, it's just a great movie. It's super funny. I said Leslie Nielsen for a reason because, of course, he's the best. I mean, you can't find a better vampire than him. It's very believable. If you encountered him, you'd probably question why would anybody want to be a vampire. I mean, that seems kind of cool, but otherwise, yeah, But there you go. I just really like that movie. Super
Esmeralda agrees with you.
Well, yeah, of course she would. She's in my head right now. Yeah, but yeah. But no, but really, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So definitely a lot of vampire movies. It's really good.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm trying to.
I haven't seen it in years.
I haven't seen it in
Me
years
neither.
either, so I can't remember anything about it. But I think there's a part where he does something funny. I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah,
I love
definitely
that
check it
part.
out.
That's a great
Yeah,
part.
that
Always
is my
makes me
favorite
laugh.
part. Yeah, exactly. Remember the
Or
time
he does something funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very good. Play me out. Got it.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Like I keep on forgetting to turn off my alarm for that.
Oh yeah,
My apologies.
sure. Sure you do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and oh, that's who it is. Peter. Yeah, I think you guys said it. Peter McNichol playing Renfield. God,
Yeah.
he was so good in that. He was like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen Veep, but like Peter McNichol in Veep and how he tears down Jonah is just brilliant, and just like again, just a phenomenal actor. Like Leslie Nielsen, right? And you got Mel Brooks as Van Helsing, and I love Steven Weber, right? As Jonathan Harker, but like I think Peter McNichol, not enough people like. I will say that name, and you know, a lot of people that are watching this may not even know who he is, right? Or like won't. Right, they recognize the face, not the name, right? But he is such an excellent actor, and he is so good as Renfield, and just like that broken human of a person that Renfield is, even in a comedic sense, he's just so good. So,
Thrash is trying again.
there we go. That's all right.
Oh, now I can't wait for the new look of something about the thing we said.
No.
All right.
The new look of something, yes.
It was
That narrows it
disgusted
down.
and disapproving, so the next one should be, I agree.
My go-to
much-
for Peter McNichol is always Ghostbusters 2.
Oh yeah,
Child,
right.
bring me to child.
I know him as a character actor in all these kind of movies.
Yeah, he's in
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love any Mel Brooks movie, honestly. But
Pretty much.
Oh.
Mel Brooks
But
is
I still
you know,
say if you haven't
well.
seen Veep, just for the like getting through into some of the later like seasons, just to like hear some of the insults, and some of it was just like, all right, Peter McNichol, like you come up with an insult for Jonah, and they would just like go out like take after take of him like tearing this guy down, in a like, you know, as a New Hampshire political insider, right? And he was just tearing. He's just so good, and that show is great. But like, again, it's one of my favorite parts that he's ever played, and it's. But like, yeah, sorry, this movie's great.
Hi, Sean.
Esmeralda's in my
Hey,
chat.
Mr. Sean.
Esmeralda's in my chat.
Yeah, we are being simulcast in multiple places.
Multiple places, so, Twitch and my
we've
channel and
spread our tendrils throughout the internet,
Yeah.
That's right.
the many corners
So incestuous.
and dark places within.
That's how I like it.
Dark, real
Right.
fast.
Mhm.
We serve our Dark Master Cthulhu in so many tendrils, in his
All
tendrily
hail
way.
Cthulhu. All hail Cthulhu.
right.
Wait. Hold on. Hold on.
Where's he going?
Well, look behind him. Like, look behind in the background. That's obviously an ode to Cthulhu. That metal artwork that's hanging up in his wall. Like, that's obviously an ode to Cthulhu.
He has
If
some.
we're going to talk about
unmentionable-
Cthulhu, then we have to bring in Cthulhu.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, nice.
Mm.
I
Sits on my
almost
bookshelf
bought
and protects my book
Cthulhu,
collection.
Plushie.
Yes.
Yeah, those are fun.
Those
But
are
I couldn't
great.
afford it. It was too expensive.
Right? We know you want it. We're going to charge you for it.
You can try, Indy. Like there's a part of me that really wants to just get a screenshot every time he freezes.
You need to just
And just,
do
like,
this.
click
I mean,
Oh, only if it was Twitch. If you were in Twitch, like you could like yeah, donate bits, and then you could like
There
you know
you go.
enough bits, right? You could purchase that. All right.
Yes, London After Midnight is the movie where there's a vampire wearing a top hat, just like Harold's. It's Lon Chaney, no less.
when are you going to get a feather to put in that thing? Like a big long one, you know?
I've got a peacock feather in my Zoot Suit hat.
No,
That's
it's coming. It's coming. Stuff is coming.
Okay.
It's called a plume.
Yeah.
Plume, yes. Plume.
Plume.
As a
wonderful
bird,
plumage.
Yes.
There
So
are
now
things that
this-
are there are things that I'm working on to get this matched to be as much like the hat in my icon as possible.
Wait a minute. That's not. Oh, based on a real hat yet? That's weird.
How is a hat
Crazy.
based on another hat?
It is a real hat. I mean, he's
Yeah, it
wearing
is. It is.
Not yet. It's not exactly the same. It's not a real hat yet.
Oh, okay.
He wears
Isn't
it
there-
on his head. That's a hat.
No, we're talking about the one in the picture. That's the real hat. His is not real yet. It's not
His hat
reversed.
his hat reminds me of Lidsville.
Oh, Lidsville. Nice.
Lidsville is the cookies. Lidsville is the.
It's the Pinocchio of hats. It's just waiting to become a real boy. And so,
It gets bigger when it lies.
right, exactly.
You're an inside then the out.
I don't know what's going on anymore. I've lost
I haven't in
control.
years.
No idea what's going on.
This world makes no sense to me.
What's going on?
What's happening?
Okay, Harold, I think it's your turn.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I gotta go. I've got so many, but I gotta go with one of the all-time greatest ever, and that's What We Do in the Shadows.
Of course.
That's just it's like, which one do I want to start with? But I gotta start with that. That is such a brilliant comedic vampire movie, and it's set as a docuseries or a documentary with Taika
Waititi.
Thank you,
Taika
Jermaine
Waititi.
Clement, Johnny Bro. There's so many wonderful quotes, from that movie that you can just clip out and just put on any kind of soundboard. It is phenomenal. It is wonderful. It's so good that it created a TV show that is just as phenomenal, and it is just again one of the best TV shows out there.
There's a clip of it in my video that's going to drop after this stream.
Oh, is it? Oh my god, it's such a good movie. It's so hilarious. I cannot recommend that you watch it. It is phenomenal.
You can't
Enough. He
recommend
means
to
enough.
watch
He
it
can't
'cause-
recommend it enough.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't recommend it enough. Sorry, I was like,
I can't recommend it. So you
I
better
can't
watch it.
recommend.
What?
That's why I brought it up. No, I can't recommend it enough. It is hilarious on every level. They break down so many different aspects of vampirism and put jokes about it, like them trying to go to the club and having to get in line, and then they can't enter a building unless they're invited, and they're it's just so just so great. It's so great. And then the werewolves and it's just it's so funny. It's so funny.
No, I was very skeptical of it before I saw it. I knew about Taika Waititi and his sense of humor. I'd seen the one with Sam Neill and the kid. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And I'd heard that it was like an Office style where you've got the handheld camera zooming in, and it's got that kind of humor and those kind of jokes. I'm like, that seems really played out. That feels like that was funny maybe 10, 15 years ago. It doesn't feel like it would be funny anymore. But that movie blew me away. It is amazingly funny. The jokes really, really land. I think it is probably Taika Waititi's best work. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
One of the amazing things about the whole mockumentary setting, it reminded me, and that certainly holds water, but it reminded me more of Archer, where what you're doing is taking something which normally is very, very adventurous and very action-packed and very, there's a lot of drama involved, and you make it so incredibly mundane.
And banal,
the day-to-day activities are almost comically dull, but they're fascinating to watch because we're watching them as entertainment, and it really shows what the day-to-day things we would have never thought of. It's like, oh my god, yeah, it would be tough as you say, they have to be invited in. Oh my god, yeah, that the little things like that. So I and the fact that a true parody of something is actually incredibly difficult to make because you really, really have to grasp the essence. You're not just making fun of it. You have to understand it on a molecular level. That's why the first Austin Powers worked so well. And so the fact that they really, really digested the whole concept of the vampire when they did it, and I thought it just worked on levels. I thought it was great.
No, agreed.
Vampire levels.
You will laugh your your butt off. And again, what I like, I actually like, so my mom, who is not really into that whole
Your mom?
spiel too much, but that whole genre and stuff like that. But we sat there and like I watched it with her, and then when she came and visited, we watched that and then binged like the first 2 seasons of the TV show, and like we watched that movie, and she was dying laughing. Right, this very conservative evangelical woman is just like sitting there dying laughing at this, and then we binged the first 2 seasons of the TV show, and like, so she's like, hey, like whenever like a season started, she's like, are you gonna be watching it or whatever, and she just like gets so enthusiastic about it. She is so hooked. Oh my god, like the Nandor and the way that the actor for Nandor speaks and everything is like, this is ridiculous. And like his like and then also Laszlo in it is phenomenal. Like Matt Berry plays this character Laszlo, who's hilarious. It's just on so many different levels. Like they have taken it and ran with that story and made it so even like just improved upon it. So it's like I highly recommend doing like a binge night with that, where you're watching the movie and then just carrying on into the TV show. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. You'll die.
Speaking of the show, getting back as we were saying, I remember that in one episode, they actually run afoul of a pack of werewolves, and you think it's going to be like something out of I'll just say a series that I'm probably brought up in this dialogue. And you think it's gonna be like this really cool song. No, and it's more like 2 rival fraternities just having a pissing contest, and they both just sort of wander off, like, because neither one knows like really how to win a pissing contest. And it's much more comical and pathetically funny than something out of an actual Hollywood movie, which would have been really, really like badass and action packed. And it just really brings up the humor of something that we've come to take as something very serious.
Well, and it also shows like to me, it makes it more like people, right? Because there's so often, especially with older guys, that try to do this like bravado aspect of like, oh, I'm so tough or whatever, but really ultimately they're not, and they're just buffoons. And so they get into this like, bowing up and then they just don't really know what to do, because they're not really actually fighters. They're not, and then it all kinds and again, it's like, oh, my hip, I don't want to like, my knee's acting up, I can't like whatever, right? And then like it just kind of peters out or whatever, and just like go, and it's just so great, like, because I don't know, to me it's just so as supernatural and bizarre, and unrealistic as it is, it's in the way that they portray it, it's even more realistic than you often see in a lot of shows. And yes. I think that's the beauty of comedy, is that oftentimes it's more realistic than some of the dramas that people try to
you really ground something like vampire lore in the real world, and you just by the very nature of doing that, highlight its absurdity and like make it seem even more absurd and silly and ridiculous, and you laugh at it, like, that's great. It's classic.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Okay. Just like Harold's hat. Yes, as well. Okay, Thresh, it is now your turn.
I'm going to bend the rules slightly and go with a book instead of a movie, but there is a time which I'll get to momentarily, and that is Dracula Unbound by my favorite author of all time, if you've been paying attention, Brian Wilson Aldous, OBE.
I thought you were going to say Tug was your favorite author of all time, because he's mine.
How do you know personally?
Now, the story behind
it's my favorite book.
The story behind this book is actually even more interesting than the book itself. As you know, Brian Wilson, Brian Aldiss,
Very different
Brian
story if it was
Wilson,
written by Brian.
just
Wilson.
like Brian Wilson Aldis did.
Oh,
Aldis never had a lot of breakthrough Hollywood success. One he did have slight success with was Frankenstein Unbound.
She make puns big
And-
right now when he talks. Just saying.
And
Oh yeah, good idea.
what had happened was he wrote this book as actually a sequel to Frankenstein, a loose sequel, and it was going to make him the next Michael Crichton. He honestly thought that this book was going to turn him into like the big name in Hollywood science fiction. It didn't turn him into Michael Crichton, it turned him more into like a Michael Applewood. You're supposed to think he was Michael Applewood. Exactly. So and this thing reads like a Hollywood screenplay, more as the pity. Well, the thing of it is, one of the things I love about it is it actually, I'm going to go out and come back in.
Oh,
finish up what you're saying.
couldn't handle it.
Sorry.
We got to stop making fun of him, I guess.
That was funny, though. So he looked so excited about it. He was just,
Hi, Lance. How's it going? Nice to see
I
you.
love it.
How's it going,
He's like,
Lance?
he's like disgusted, and then he's like disapproving, and then he's like,
Sarah,
I
stop
love
that
that guy.
infectious laughing. Because you make me laugh.
I've
Sorry.
never read Dracula Unbound or Frankenstein Unbound for that matter. I can say that since Thrash isn't here.
I don't read.
What are
No,
books?
actually, no. I'm interested in checking that out because I haven't heard of those, and so
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Like,
really
I've heard of
curious.
it, but, yeah.
I think of it but yeah, no. That sounds
There he is.
really interesting.
Yay!
Sorry, Thrash. We'll stop making
I'm
fun
sorry,
of it.
I had to do it. It was unnerving to talk to a still image of myself. I couldn't do it.
You were so excited. It was so
Couldn't do it.
cute.
It was like,
Yeah,
It was great.
I'm interested in what this book is. And I can't hear what Thrash is saying.
so, from the top. So basically, it reads like a Hollywood a screenplay, more's the pity. The vampires are a covert society that want to take over Earth using asymmetric warfare and, Tug, are you sitting down, a time train. Yes, they have time travel in this book. In fact, there's one scene, and by the way, the main character teams up with the Bram Stoker. In his time travels, he teams up with Bram Stoker,
Nice.
and they become like a superhero team. And at one point, they even have to save themselves. They're being held by the vampires, and the two of them show up with machine guns and machine gun everyone. And as they run off, he goes, "Come with me, Bram." Where? To save ourselves. And they go back to a point slightly further in time and save each other. And I'm like, oh, Brian. Dude, no. And so it wasn't turned into a Hollywood screenplay,
That sounds
probably for the best. But it
Sounds
was
like it.
one of the 179 sources that Guillermo del Toro used in his conceptualization of the strain.
There we go.
Ooh.
It was, and you could tell, you're like, sorry, Guillermo, he borrowed this, and he borrowed that, and he borrowed. And one of the best things about this, though, is he tries to talk about the origins of vampires. And it's funny because I think vampire stories usually work best when we don't understand where the vampires come from, just like zombies. It doesn't matter. They're here. Deal with it. If you try to, reverse technology of them, they become like midichlorians, and it somehow cheapens them. But this one did it really good. Brian Aldiss, of course, is a huge fan of dinosaurs, like I was as a child. And what happens is they started out, they were actually carrion-eating pterosaurs.
Of course.
Who found they could get a better nutritional value by sucking the blood out of live victims as opposed to eating the dead ones. And they evolved into what we now know of as vampires millions of years later. And I thought that was actually a really, really good concept. I also like, and this is
Explains the
actually from
bat
the
wings
string.
and stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I said it explains the bat wings and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're pterosaur wings, and there's also the hierarchy, and some look more human than others. But the central Dracula vampire, he's like monstrous, and he has the head like the size of a bull, and he's this like really terrifying entity. But when the vampires take over, they don't exterminate humans because, of course, we're their food source. They create things like massive concentration camp type situations where humans are
Feedlots.
used as forced labor because vampires are left brainers. They don't understand technology. So you need the humans to sort of keep the lights going and stuff like that. And also
Humans.
for food. And
Food, I get that.
so it actually gives a really, what I thought was an amazing case of what a society of vampires would actually function as and what things would actually look like if they really did take over. And again, I could only recommend it to true vampire fans because, again, it's not very good. And Tug, as a person, a proponent of time travel, you'd probably cringe the whole way through because of the time machine angle. But
I don't know. If you get to a certain level of absurdity, I can allow it. Like, if you're already like traveling through time on a train with Bram Stoker, I mean, I'm not going to be a stickler anymore.
I see where
how-
this is going. Okay.
if the vampires don't really understand technology, how'd they develop time travel?
human slaves.
The slaves developed it.
They capture human scientists and force them to work for them.
That makes perfect
In
sense.
fact,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
the time travel angle in the future, because it was a topical. It's still topical now, but toxic waste, particularly radioactive waste, was a really big hot button. They developed time travel to get rid of nuclear
Love hot
waste. You take all the waste and you just send it back in time to somewhere else. And yes, you hit the nail on the head. Well, where's it going?
NIMBY in the time travel universe, right there.
Spent all that time to explain like evolution.
But in their mind, it just keeps going and going and going. Well, it's going to end up somewhere. Yeah, but that's the problem wherever it ends up. And it's as most Brian Aldiss works are. It's he loves to make fun of the absurdity of mankind, and that's part of it. But yes, they use human slave scientists to create their technologies. Oh, and another thing is when in most vampire movies, when the chief vampire, Dracula or whoever, when he's really mad at you, he tears you to shreds or drinks your blood or he does something graphic and gratuitous, but it's relatively immediate. In this, what they do is they turn you into a vampire so you can't die and then torture you forever. And I was like, wow. You know, it's sort of like in one of the Star Wars books where Palpatine keeps cloning Vader so he can execute him over and over and over again. I'm like, that's good. That's really good. So, again, I can only recommend it to true vampire fans or Brian Aldiss fans. But again, when you read it, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, he got that from there," and "Oh yeah, that it's far more influential than I feel it deserved to be." But I had to open up with that.
That sounds fabulous. Like it sounds really ridiculous and silly, and I love it.
I think Pons, you should do a stream where you read the book to everybody. It'd be great.
I thought about that. In fact, I kind of did a prelude to that for one of my other Brian Aldiss books that I loved, and nobody seemed to care. So I just sort of
I wasn't there to hear it, but I hear it now, and I would be there. I've been to the book reading shows. I've had my own
I would
book
love
reading
to
shows.
read along. Yeah.
I'll get all the links, and you
That's
can.
actually a
read.
good point, Dan. They should be good.
Oh yes, but the problem is, you bear in mind they're not humans; they're corpses. So not a lot of the elements of the brain are still functioning. That's what I said. Left brainers.
Well, right.
You know,
Zombies.
Like
A lot of people
also
are meant to be
like
daybreakers
if you
in the
think
show.
about it, like because as like
maybe.
I say this from my perspective because I'm closing in on geriatric like at light speed pace, but like and being here on the interwebs, like I'm like, oh, this isn't working, and I kind of throw the keyboard and like refer
Look at how
back to
old
the.
this one is.
I know so much. Look at the gray right there. Like the gray's coming in so well.
don't
Like
even.
it's.
Oh,
Like-
you're still a kid.
But no, like
Look at mine. Mine's like almost all gray now. Look at that. It's like, yeah, look at it. Look, and then you got the stuff on the sides over here, and the other side. It's. I mean, I'm done.
You people.
There you go,
I
right?
have no gray. It's really good.
right. No, but but if you you kind of refer back to the duck with the sledgehammer and the computer, right? And it's the old school looking computer, right? And
CRT
so
monitor sitting on
exactly
top
a big old it's a series of tubes like that Alaskan senator saying that internet is a series of tubes, and it's like, well, yeah, I get why, because when you look at his computer or his TV, it is a series of tubes. But no, So when we look at ourselves when it comes to technology and newer technology, we tend to have a hard time with it, right? You talk about someone who's lived for 200 years, we think that they're always learning, but that's very counter to human behavior. Like you get stuck in your time, right? And you get stubborn and you get resistant. So the concept that that vampires would actually be moving forward or be beyond us, I think is a twisted way of looking at it, and also putting them too much on a pedestal. To me, they would be stuck in the past, right? Because again, we're on nostalgia tube, there's so much new stuff out there, yet we enjoy and love talking about our nostalgia. There's an entire community here built on that concept, right? And again, we all love some of our new stuff, and that's not a knock. That's not a knock, right? So it's to sit there and think vampires would be something different or so far ahead or whatever, blah blah blah. I think is always a misnomer, right? It's one of the things. Oh, go ahead.
That's kind of illustrated in Interview with a Vampire with Lestat needing somebody to usher him into the new. The new world or the new next generation, because he's you look at his clothing and whatnot, he looks like he's from the 1700s. Yeah, right. And he's
he's still in the Renaissance.
Yeah, he hasn't ever come out.
Yeah.
Of that
Read
thing,
the Vampire Lestat, the second book, the second book.
He
talks about how he converted Louis because he needed a young person to introduce him to this new world because he'd fallen so far behind. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's to your point there.
Yeah, and again, as we get older, we shut in a little bit more. We don't go out, or we go to things that are more traditional, right? The things that we're more used to, right? We resist change. We don't like change, right? We don't hey, I don't like, this happening, or when people were throwing participation awards to 5-year-olds, no, let's take those trophies away from these small children, because that's not, how, I did it. And again, it's not a knock on that. It's that it's not how I was younger. So therefore this is different. And I have a little bit of a resistance to it, right? Which is a human behavior where we resist change. We don't like change. We like what we're used to. There's a comfort in normalcy. So if you take something that is 200, 300, 400 years old, all of this is going to be somewhat scary, even though all of this other stuff is going to be somewhat scary to it, even though they are so powerful and stuff.
Can you imagine how absolutely terrible you would find modern pop culture if you were 400 years old? Because as you get older, pop culture just seems like it gets worse and worse, right? It just feels that way. So at 400 years old, oh my goodness.
Oh, again,
what would you think? What would you think of TikTok if you were 400 years old?
I think you should hear from Pons on that one. He looks just kind of
no.
blown away by it.
Concerned.
No, the concept.
Scared of it. He's afraid.
The concept of not owning someone. or the concept of not owning another human being, or that the quote unquote lessers are allowed to own property, would blow their mind, let alone TV, computers, internet, social media, all that different stuff. like
planes,
again,
people flying through
right,
the
right.
sky.
Like again, like to sit there and see them as like like to me, I'm like they would struggle with that, let alone all the technological stuff, right?
It's so funny you mentioned that actually because there's a scene which just jumped into my head. After a battle, the main character and Bram Stoker and the gardener who somehow got caught up in all this. The three of them have this battle, and uh, the main character pouring them all a toast, and Bram Stoker says, "In my day, we did not drink with lessers," and he orders the guy away from the table, and it was like, whoa, because it's like in the 20th century, which is a long time ago, but in the 20th century, late 20th century, that was considered an elitist bastard thing to do. But in Bram Stoker's time, that's just the way things were done. So even Bram Stoker as a human is stuck in the past. So and that's he's on the human side. So yes, the idea of now what are we love to do? We love to look at historic figures and think about how great they are. If you met a founding father, you'd probably think he was a psychopath. If you
And
met
they
a
would
Spartan,
hate
you'd
the
want to
modern
lock
world
up.
just in general, not necessarily because of the direction the country went in or anything. They would just be lost and confused.
Oh, confused doesn't touch it.
They wouldn't understand. I mean, to be honest.
Oh, hi, Anomaly.
I don't understand.
Good to see you.
That was a funny way of saying it. Good to see you.
No, it's a good point. It's definitely worth noting. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Damien, your turn.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I am gonna go with the vampire version of Coming to America, Vampire in Brooklyn.
Oh, great one.
Which is
Nice.
literally the best way to put it is the vampire version of Coming to America. So,
No, it's a very good one.
Eddie Murphy comes to America to find his bride, this time as a vampire and this time in Brooklyn. So rather than Queens, rather than as a African prince looking for his queen in Queens, he's a
Oh yeah, that was a good movie.
That's
too.
right.
African vampire looking for his queen in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
But
it's basically the same movie.
That's
it
so
is. It is.
weird.
It's the same. You got the similar comic relief kind of thing, and Eddie Murphy does a great job in that movie playing other characters like the preacher and the gangster, the Italian gangster guy. It just him and his impressions. He's always been good at that. So, I mean, overall, it's not a great movie. I think it got 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. It definitely wanted to be a much better movie than it was, and it is very funny. It has a lot of funny points in it. But I think I don't know if it was the directing or the cinematography, but
There's something just off about it.
It just comes across as cheap and contrived, rather than in Coming to America where it comes across as just a lot funnier, just kind of one thing after another and kind of more authentic in a way. But Vampire in Brooklyn, it is funny. He does, Eddie Murphy does a great job being Eddie Murphy in that movie, and doing the things Eddie Murphy does. And I mean, it's got John Witherspoon in it, who plays, John Witherspoon, like the same character he always plays in all other movies. He plays in that movie, and it does a great job yet again. I mean, it's just it's an enjoyable, fun movie to watch, but at the same time, you're like, as you're watching it, you're like, looking at your watch, like, when's this going to be done? I got other things to do, So.
Well, it was sort of I mean, I love the concept. It's sort of Blackula
Yeah.
meets Love at First Bite.
Yeah.
You're doing a comedic version, and of course, there's nothing new about the idea of, in so many cases, Nosferatu and so many others. That's the whole premise: is that you're taking the vampire out of his traditional homeland and bringing him west, be that London or New York or wherever. And in this case, it's a comedic spin. And of course, as we were discussing that fish out of water, as a person who's from a completely different time period, he would be completely thrown by what the world was like. And you're taking two great movies. That's why I won't get into them too much because I'm sure both of them are on somebody's list. At least one's on mine.
Oh my goodness! It was directed by Wes Craven. Sorry,
it was. Yeah.
I completely. If I knew that, I forgot it. I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
I did.
But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's a great fun fact. I love Wes Craven. In a healthy, non-threatening kind of way. But it must have worked. Thank you. Thank you. It must have worked great on paper because again, you're taking two really great movies. How do you take two great movies, put them together, and not have it be great? Particularly when the filling hold of the two together is Eddie Murphy. Well, as you say, they managed. It did miss something. I think there was just so much. It was like Yellowbeard. There was so much talent and so much to work with. They thought it would just sort of like form itself, and it didn't.
Yeah. It did not. It did not glue itself together well. It was not very cohesive. Yeah. It was. There's something wrong with that movie. I don't. It's hard to put a finger on. So.
Thrash, I think you really kind of nail it because sometimes, like, when you look at even someone like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams, like some of their best movies were the dramas that they were doing, right? And because you would think, okay, their comedies would be the best, right? But even like Mrs. Doubtfire was a great comedy. However, the reason that it works is you have to rein it in. Right, you have to ensure that it's structured. If you allow Robin Williams or Jim Carrey to go, like, if you throw out too many jokes and if you do too much, it doesn't hit. It's just kind of all over the place, and there's going to be too many misses, right? Yeah. Because it's not kind of tied in together. That's like with comedies when they do a stand-up, they're not just like throwing out like all these different random jokes. Especially nowadays, they're weaving in a story, and it's even better, and it's deeper and stuff like that. And comedy's kind of evolved into this because it really hits more powerfully when you see these like specials that they do that kind of have a underlying meaning behind it, right? George Carlin was like a master of this. Even though he would talk about different topics, he would bring them in with a structure, right? So it's all written out, it's organized, all that different stuff. If you go up there without a plan, you're just going to bomb, right? Because you're going to be all over the place, and it's going to be like, where's all this coming from? There's no, right? And so in here, if you have all of this talent and expect the talent to just come together on its own, you're losing the point of what makes so many of these actors great, is that they're not writing the script. They're not, doing the directing. They're doing their part of bringing forth a collective vision that's structured, right? And so when you don't have that cohesive and it's more amoebic, then like a lot of times, if it doesn't have that structure, it just feels chaotic all over the place and doesn't really seem like it has. It's like, what is the point of this, right? And it loses the point, right? Because again, you don't have one, right?
Jerry Lewis was a very effective comic, not because he acted like a buffoon, but because that buffoonery was put in a very specific, and as you would have said, structured manner. Anyone could go in front of a camera and act like an idiot.
Oh yeah, I did all
charged.
Right?
But there's got to be, as you say, cohesion. And again, it is the pitch, the idea of taking two separate forms of entertainment, putting them together and making an amalgam is nothing new. There was a whole movie about that. My movie is sort of Flash Gordon meets First Wives Club. I love it. Run with it. I love it. You can take two completely separate movies and make an amalgam, but you have to work at it. You can't just
Didn't they do that already? But they just changed the A in Flash Gordon to an E?
Yeah, here we go.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I had to. I apologize. My bad. I'm so sorry. I denounce and reject myself.
I'm really interested in the chat because it's kind of funny. I've got all the different chats going at once on the side here, and like it seems like the different audiences in different places are on like the same topic. Like both the YouTube comments and Harold's Twitch comments are all talking about Renfield like at the same time, and you never mentioned it. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I just had to point that out because I find it very amusing.
Yeah.
What movie were we talking about? I've already.
It was Vampire in Brooklyn. Yeah,
several.
One of the things that I found kind of interesting was that it starts out with the derelict ship or the ghost ship or whatever, which is repeated in multiple other vampire movies. So it's like they kind of draw in some of the same themes, and at the beginning of the movie they explain that vampires started in Egypt or something like that, or even before the Egyptian civilization. So they've been around for a very, very, very long time. So anyway, just interesting little tidbits from that one. But yeah.
I love that also that concept of things starting in Egypt is such a running theme, right? Because even with like X-Men, it's like the first mutant is Apocalypse, right? Who started in Egypt and stuff like that. Like there's oftentimes, not always, there's a lot of times this concept of things starting in Egypt, which is great because we at least we're recognizing, this culture as like an epic culture, right? But it's also interesting because we ignored like thousands of other years of human existence and other cultures and things like that, just to and human history, cool, like so many different places that we could start.
Called House of Ashes. It's part of the Dark Pictures anthology, where it turns out vampires actually came from Iraq, and like some Iraq soldiers during the Second Gulf War like stumble into this cave and fall down into this like Lovecraftian underworld where you find out that vampires are actually like ancient aliens or something. It's ridiculous, but it's actually also very awesome.
Oh gosh.
Well, one thing, all kidding aside, and there's many differing views on what the origins of vampires were in folklore, but I was kind of in Jewish folklore. There's something called the Dybbuk,
right?
Which is basically it's a ghost takes over the body of a recently deceased person, so it can do its bidding, so it can take care of unfinished business here on Earth, and they go into this like comatose state. And there's no reference to them drinking blood, but I've always wondered if there was like some root legend of which the two came from. You know what I'm saying? Because that's basically what a vampire does. I mean, there's two things. When it bites you, it takes your blood to sustain itself, but it also turns you into a vampire. So it's like you got this whole. You could call it symbiotic. You could call it parasitic. It depends on which way you look at it. But again, I was wondering if there's like some connection between the two.
There's also like an old Catholic story of the Sin Eater, which is very similar to vampirism. Only instead of like draining people's blood, like they were literally like eating their sins out of them and like converting them into this other being that was very similar to a vampire. There's a lot of different like proposed origins of like where does vampirism really come from, and they all are kind of compelling. So I think it's just a weird mishmash of culture. Werewolves is the same way.
I think what it was is like there were two people and they were just trying to do a story off, right? And then one of the people said that one of the guy's story sucks, and then that's why the vampires now suck.
Oh,
your story sucks, buddy. One. Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Dracula turns out to be I've never seen Dracula 2000, but that's actually kind of a cool concept that he's actually Jewish. That's fun.
No, and yeah, like in some shape or form, there's something like in some shape or form, almost every culture throughout history has had some sort of concept of a vampire like creature.
Well, it's because they're real.
Right. Well, yeah, and so like this concept that they're that this creature that feeds off of humans and stuff like that.
And then there's there's additional, threads to that too, where it's not just like a human form that feeds off people, but like animal type things like chupacabra and whatnot that drain the blood of its victims, whether it be an animal or a person, and
mosquitoes,
so on and so forth.
fleas.
Yeah, it probably goes back to like just being afraid of things that suck our blood, like vampire bats, mosquitoes, leeches, so on and so forth.
It could be a leech.
And that blood being the the thing that without it you die, because somebody gets a really bad wound and they bleed to death, like all this stuff comes out and now you're dead. It's like, well, that must be your life, your life force is that red liquid. So so this bad thing sucked your life force out. That's I can see where that can kind of connect.
Are those the hopping? I'm asking Vim a question here. Are those the hopping vampires? Because that has always weirded me out in like old Chinese movies where they have vampires and the vampires are just like hopping around weirdly. Like, I don't get that at all.
They're descended from kangaroos in that.
There's that one Hammer vampire movie where it was like the last of the Dracula movies, but it was actually like set in Japan, or not Japan, China, and it was like done partially with the Shaw Brothers and stuff.
7 Golden Vampires, I think it was called.
Yeah. That's just like the first one that came to my mind, and it's got those weird vampire zombie hybrids that jump around all the time. It's weird.
Vampires or frogs, maybe frogs.
Frog vampires.
Cold-blooded creatures.
Well, in the strain, it's like a giant tongue which goes out and bites you.
Oh yeah.
So I could see that too, where the frog's tongue has teeth on it. It's like
or even like leeches or different types of like marine like what are they're like a either
lamprey.
A worm or lampreys and stuff like that's it. That have the jaws inside that like can they got the outer attachment jaws and then the ones inside that actually chew.
I had a concept for a game show where the subject is blindfolded and has to choose between climbing into one of 2 tanks full of icy water. One has a case of $1 million, the other is full of giant lampreys. It was called Eel or No Eel.
Oh God!
Oh, I was like, where is this going? Oh, great setup!
Wow, you got a winner there.
I'm saving that one.
Very nice.
Thank you.
And thank you, Vim, for actually explaining it. I've never had anybody actually explain it to me before. They hop because the legs of a dead person are bound together. That's really interesting. Did not know that. There we go.
Well,
can't they just untie them?
Vampires don't know how to work things. I mean, they got those really long talons. It's kind of hard to work your hands.
Just cut the rope with the talons. Anyway,
the stake doesn't actually kill the vampire. It makes them stuck to the ground so they can't get back up.
Stake them down so they can't go anywhere. Yeah, good idea.
Now that's called pitching a tent.
But I'm
Some people are trying to get me in trouble.
I know, right? We will not shut down this stream. We will not allow. We will keep it friendly so that we don't shut down the stream.
Well, that's how you waterproof the outer casing of the tent. You put the pitch on it.
Yeah, that's what she said.
It's perfectly acceptable and uninnuendo-filled.
Yes, and the stakes are so high, Thrash.
Okay, well, on that note, Tracy, it is your turn.
Mine, of course, yeah, well, what can I say? My favorite has to be the 1931, because I love retro movies.
Of course.
The 1931 Dracula. I like the lighting. I like how they tried to make it look spooky and really foreboding, It was, I just like the art and I like the direction. I mean, it was just great, I mean, there's nothing like it. And they show his eyes all lit up and looking mysterious, like oh, you don't know the secrets.
Yeah. And Bela, is just amazing. And yes, I'm going to pronounce it Bela Lugosi because that's how you pronounce it in Hungarian.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get a lot of
Lugosi.
comments on my videos. How can you mispronounce Bela Lugosi like that?
It's really simple. I just did.
I just like those.
Wasn't
I
hard
love
for me. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It was simple. I just did it all wrong. It's crazy.
But he makes that movie. Like, the blood is the life. I mean, that's Dracula. That is the Dracula that is permanently ingrained in all of our brains, and we can't undo that, no matter what. Like,
The children of the night.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Here.
And you know, it was all in black and white, so it was supposed to be mysterious and whatnot.
Yeah, and it kind of set the whole stage for Universal horror. The entire pantheon of like Frankenstein and the Invisible Man and the Wolf Man and yada yada yada. That all came from Dracula and its popularity, which was a big gamble. Like the Lemley Senior didn't want to make Dracula and Frankenstein. He thought that was a terrible idea. He thought they would cost the studio so much money they'd have to declare bankruptcy because they were teetering on the edge because of the Great Depression. But Lemley Jr. was dead set on it. We have to do this. We absolutely have to do this. And he was right.
Next to my favorite other Dracula, the Count from Sesame Street.
Of course.
Ooh.
Yes.
Seven
I love the
seven
Count.
You know,
batty
yeah.
bats.
Yes, he taught me to hate math and vampires.
I couldn't help myself. I couldn't hold it back.
But also talking about the 1931 Dracula, I want to give an honorable mention to the Spanish language version that they made it at the exact same time, because you can see using exactly the same script, exactly the same sets, even the same marks on the floor for the actors. Like they used everything exactly the same. I actually think the Spanish language version might be better. The only thing it's missing is Bela, obviously. Like the guy they have playing Dracula, I can't remember his name. He's not as good as Bela, not even close. But the rest of the movie, it's actually a better movie, even though it's almost identical. There's just something about it. There's like a different passion behind the scenes, I think. Because like this was classic studio Hollywood, like the lights on the day, these people were just working. They weren't really thinking about the actual artistry of it. Whereas the crew that was working on the Spanish language version had a director who didn't even speak Spanish. He was barely even there. Like, so they were kind of doing it on their own, and there weren't any like studio eyes really watching them. It was kind of an afterthought. They did this at like 3:00 in the morning. They had a lot more freedom to express themselves, to actually look at it as a piece of art, as something to be proud of, something to aspire to. It wasn't just doing a job, and I think that really shows on screen in ways you can't quantify. So I highly recommend, if you like the original 1931 Dracula, which is one of the greatest movies ever made, I'm not going to debate that, you should absolutely also see the Spanish language version.
I'll have to.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess that means it's my turn again.
Oh, also, D-Man, Sims 007 wanted to say that he loves your name.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Before I do that, hold on. I'm looking for something.
Whoa.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk about Near Dark. 1980s, right after Aliens, Catherine Bigelow makes her first movie called Near Dark, which is a vampire western starring a lot of the same people who were in Aliens. You've got Bill Paxton as the like over the top biker jacketed crazy psychopath vampire. You've got Lance Henriksen as the vampire leader, who's kind of like stoic and a little standoffish, but he's very grizzled in that like Lance Henriksen western kind of way. Like he feels like he's in a western and not in a vampire movie at all. And you've got Jeanette Goldstein as his like vampire bride. So you've got Hudson and Bishop and Vasquez as vampires, along with what's her name?
Jenny Wright.
Jenny Wright, thank you. Along with Jenny Wright, and they come across this guy and turn him into a vampire. Well, Jenny Wright turns him into a vampire, and then it's the typical vampire story where he has to learn how to kill, or else they won't accept him, and he refuses to kill because he can't kill. And that's actually Adrian Pasteur, who Heroes fans might remember as Nathan Petrelli, which I always think is funny. The movie's kind of a fever dream of a movie. It's not fully narratively cohesive or coherent. And I think that might be just because Catherine Bigelow was a new director and didn't exactly know what she was doing. But it also kind of feels like it might have been by design. The movie, I don't know, it's more of an emotional experience than an actual story. I mean, there is a story there, but it's more about just the weird 80s. I don't even know how to describe it really. I find it fascinating and really interesting. It's kind of like it's a precursor to the Lost Boys. It's that same kind of spirit as the Lost Boys. I think the Lost Boys might do it better, but Near Dark never gets the appreciation I think it deserves, especially for Bill Paxton, because oh my God, I'm scared to death of Bill Paxton in that movie. He's completely out of his gourd. And yeah, it's just a great movie, and I highly recommend it.
Well, I always loved it myself, actually, because it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if Natural Born Killers is correct, the right one, but they're not so much vampires as sort of like wandering outlaws.
Yeah, they're like nomads. Yeah.
Exactly. Like Bonnie and Clyde, if Bonnie and Clyde were vampires.
There you go. Yeah.
And it shows some of the more getting back to some of the more
Right.
She's been undone. Mundane things, like for example, if they have to fight during the day, they have these like light removing like suits, like they completely cover their bodies and wear like those like glasses you can look at an eclipse with, so that they don't burst into flames. A lot of the day stuff. And that scene where they get into a brawl at the bar is just absolutely. It's funny and intense and violent at the same time. Bill Paxton gets the guy to start choking him, and he pretends he's suffocating. It's like you'll have to do better than that.
Laughing.
I feel like Oz is indifferent to it though.
It's a really, really great film. And the funny thing is, Jenny Wright, who we all remember as the groupie in Pink Floyd's The Wall, and there's no reason why one shouldn't remember that scene. But the funny thing is, the girl can actually act.
Yeah, she's really good in this movie.
She's really good in it. It's funny because I never concepted of the idea of watching her for her acting ability. But I know I'm a pig. I was a teenage boy. What do you want from me?
To be fair, in Pink Floyd's The Wall, she just is a sexual object. That's all she is in that movie.
Damn. I know, like, damn. And the fact that I think she was still 17 when she did it. She was still an older woman. Still an older woman. I was 12 when that movie came out. So. But that
I was 2. So
remember now, I didn't bring this topic up.
Never said you did.
I'm just bringing it up to anybody else, okay?
But no, the movie does have one thing that always annoys me, is it's got this one ridiculous plot contrivance where a simple blood transfusion cures vampirism, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
You're getting blood transfusion.
So
that's all you need.
Where can I sign up?
So, fun fact about this movie that I learned was during the filming of it, there's these trains that would always stop and kind of get in the way, right, of the filming and cause problems and things like that, right? And they just on a repeated like scheduled time, just the same time every time, and messing with it. Right, exactly. And finally, when one of the conductors comes out, Bill Paxton in his makeup and everything like that all burnt up. And
this is when he's like half burned.
Yeah, half burned, all that different stuff. Goes up to the guy and is like, "Oh my God, dude, there's been a mad accident. You think this is bad? It's so much worse over there." And freaks everybody out, and is like, in order to show their frustration with the fact that, hey, look, man, you're not being considerate of what we're trying to do here. We have these, agreements and
We're on a
you know,
schedule.
yeah, we're on a schedule. We've got our permits, all that different stuff, and yet it frustrates the engineers, right? Because they have to do what they have to do, and so this passive aggressive behavior that people engage in. So it's like then they just go back with their own like defiant behavior, which also I think fits the motif of every like of some of the genre because it's like that
It's like rebel outlaw
classic
yeah.
80s white person gang look, right? That every movie did. Like it's like gang life, man, forever, right? And it's like, yeah, so it's like the classic 80s white person gang look.
Like
that they
the
made
Legend
up.
of Billie Jean,
Right.
only with
Very much
vampires.
so. Yeah.
And so it's just it's like, and I love it. Like Bill Paxton is the one that did that because I'm like, that sounds like him. I believe it. I 100%
Totally.
believe it. Like everything
And
I've heard
that
about the man.
movie is Bill Paxton at his most unhinged. It's crazy how far he takes it. That whole bar scene should be required viewing. It's one of the best vampire scenes ever.
Paz agrees with you. You can tell.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Huh?
I know.
Oh, whoops.
What are you
Yeah.
sharing something?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was a classic '80s
There we go.
gang
Yeah,
look. There we go.
totally.
Oh.
The white hair on.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot about the kid.
Oh,
Of
that's
course,
funny.
there's also the kid.
So dangerous. Look at those ruffians. They're terrifying. They're coming for your kids. Be afraid.
Be very
Hooligans, all of them. Thugs and hooligans, all of them.
afraid. He
Anyway,
says,
I just. Oh,
for a
sorry.
minute. No, it looked like
Oh,
that
sorry.
poison.
I closed it.
It's okay.
It's okay.
So, Sarah, do you have another movie for us? Let's try to make this quick. Running low on
Okay,
time.
real quick. It's gonna be real quick. Okay, Frighteners, the remake. I watched it again last night, like I said. Very good movie. Hi, Bud Files. Good to see you. Yeah, I like the fact that in one part of the movie, the guy who plays McLovin, I can't remember his real name. Who cares? But him, he encounters the vampire in the backyard, right? And he breaks the window and hops into a house, right? And he's like, "You can't come in here. You're not invited, right?" And the guy's all, "House is abandoned." And he just like does this weird walk in, like that, and walks into the house, and anyway, he gets turned, and then his arm gets chopped off later. And then
Right.
But anyways, good movie. But I really like that movie. Actually, it's good. I've seen it a couple times. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
which one's the remake? Like, I didn't even know there was a remake. Like,
Yeah, it was like done in 2000 something. Rather, it's got actors in it that are modern. It's crazy.
okay.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie though. Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that. That was that quick enough for you?
Yeah, very, very quick. Yes. Sorry.
I-
I don't mean to rush.
What,
No,
what was the title? What was the title?
The
The
Frighteners.
Frighteners. Is it
Oh, yes.
1996?
Yes.
Because that's the one with that was.
No. I no, they didn't do a. That's. I think you're thinking of a different movie. Because they didn't do a remake of Frighteners.
Maybe I am. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I can't read titles. Who knows? I watched the movie last night. Those vampires.
Does it have Michael J.
Is it Fright Night that you're thinking of?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
you're
it
thinking
was.
of
I watched
Fright
them both.
Night.
Oh,
Fright
Fright
Night.
Night.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I'm looking up the wrong movie
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah.
There we go. That makes more sense
Yes.
because I don't remember there being
okay.
vampires.
I know. I was like, wait, but like Frighteners is ghosts. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why I didn't
okay,
say
perfect,
anything.
perfect.
Listen. I don't know my titles. Okay, I watched them both. Whatever.
Yes, yeah, okay, yeah. Because this is the one that Colin Farrell, Anton Yelkin,
Yeah.
heartbreaks.
Rest in peace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Mintz, yeah, McLovin, David Tennant.
Yeah. So that one, yeah, that's really good. I highly recommend
Check
that
out.
movie we're talking about now. That one, yeah.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
Hey,
I
Rotten
was wrong.
Tomatoes
I did
72, and it's free on Tubi.
both. Yes.
Oh.
Cool.
watch
Where I
that one.
watched it.
Yeah.
So is it better than the original from '85 or?
I didn't see the original.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not better than the original.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't hate it, but no.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a good movie though.
I mean, I grew up on the original. I'm tainted. I'm biased.
I know exactly, like nostalgia, right?
Well, if I
And
get a chance to see
Roddy
it, I
McDowell.
will.
Come on.
True.
I mean,
true,
I
true,
love
true,
David
true.
Tennant and all, but he's not. He's playing it like Chris Angel instead of like an old horror TV guy. Like it's weird. It's not the same as Roddy McDowall's performance.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
but right. But it's the stylistic and also a different interpretation of it, right? And so
Yeah,
so
it's
again
doing
to
that
the
like
right.
2000s thing. Yeah,
Right. That's where I'm saying like I think it depends on like as far as which one's better depends on the era of the person, right? Because you based on your history may and your movie history may want it to be presented as one way, whereas a younger generation might like the newer version better because it plays on that era, right? And so the different expectations. I'm not disagreeing with you about the quality of the 80s versus the 2011. I'm just saying like that they're like even scoring on like Rotten Tomatoes and things like that, they're very very close. And so
yeah. And like I said, I don't think it's terrible. Like,
so I think it's a stylistic thing, right?
And
But I had that
respect
same feeling of like this isn't the old one, right?
I
And
do
so
respect
that's
it for trying
but I know
to
I'm
do
old,
a different,
so.
take it in a different kind of stylistic direction. I appreciate that. That's what you should do when you remake. You shouldn't try to just ape the original because you'll almost never succeed at doing that.
Yeah.
But if you go too far in the other direction, you'll wind up with the Rollerball remake. We don't need to talk about that.
Well
There's gotta be
played.
a happy medium. There's got to be like
Yeah, there's got to be a happy medium, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yes.
the thing that made Fright Night work the most, in my opinion, and I'm talking the original, is that it was this nice modern retake of the whole vampire theme. I mean,
It kind of brought it back into the zeitgeist. Yeah.
It did. It did. I mean, and the whole thing. He cons an invite from the mother so he can get over to the house. The whole thing where vampires so often are reminded of their lost love who died centuries before. In this case, it's Amanda Pierce. They bring all these things together. So it's sort of like they'll do old fashioned but new, and right down to the fact that the Roddy McDowall character is it's supposed to be a playoff on all those old Peter Cushing horror movies. So you're getting you have a good dose of nostalgia and still a modern take. I mean, the whole conflict, the main conflict takes place in a dance club, just like in Terminator. I mean, and it's so funny because as a person who lived through the 80s, the 80s has two things that stand out about it. It was the most cutting edge, forward thinking decade I've ever lived in, yet at the same time, the most nostalgic decade I ever lived in.
Neon.
They
Very
were
neon.
Yeah. Neon.
And this movie played to both.
Yeah.
I can see that. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of creativity going on back then.
I think it was well, I've the wrong channel to talk about why I think it was a creative. Never mind.
Yeah, Gus Van Sant, he's the one who did the Psycho remake, right? The first rule of making a remake, don't remake a perfect movie. Just don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the original.
There's no need to remake Psycho. Are you kidding? That's like trying to remake Citizen Kane or something. Don't
Oh
do
God,
that.
please no.
Need to remake bad movies into good movies.
Yeah,
Is
I mean, I was on board with the idea of a Rollerball remake because as much as I like Rollerball, I do think it's flawed and could be better. So like, make a movie like that. Make a movie that could be better and make it better instead. But you know, the Rollerball remake it made it like 15 million.
Make it
times
better.
This is a remake. of
Bad
all
example, but you know
remakes.
what I'm saying.
Well, you know that, but they're taking timeless classics.
Yeah.
Like for example, a few years ago, I thought a great concept that they remade Crazies, and I thought that was brilliant
Oh, yeah.
because the only people who remember the original Crazies are diehard Romero fans like myself. So most people are in for a nice treat. They
Right.
don't even know it's a remake when they go to see it. So it'll be like the Three Musketeers. You see the modern one, and then they say there was an original, and you go and you watch the original, and then you can like learn to appreciate it on levels. Unfortunately, with Crazies, it didn't work, but I love the concept. But you know what?
I kind
As
of
we
like
tap
the
dance
remake
around
of
it,
Crazy. It had Timothy Oliphant in it for crying out loud.
No, I like and again, this is as some of my Twitch friends would say, American capitalism, yay! But a lot of it is just this did well, made a lot of money, so let's just do it again.
Well, yeah, the Hollywood mentality is if it works, don't.
Right, because there's a feeling of no risk, right? Because we have evolved to a point where when you have lots of wealth, there's an expectation that investments are no longer risk, right? Because there's always something to prevent you from losing, right? We're going to rig the system, and so they're kind of doing that with art and movies, where they're going to these movies that did well with the expectation that this isn't going to be a losing investment, and then it's only going to grow, right? And so we're losing this kind of important concept, like you bring up, Tug, is that we need to see the movies that were good, didn't do as well as they could, and build off of that so that they can, but that's risky. And when you're talking about the amount of money,
of the Hollywood mentality.
Exactly.
Like the idea of taking something that didn't work and try again. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I know what went wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, again, it goes into the psychology of again, it just goes into the psychology of people that's why we're getting this. And there's so much disappointment, let down. People, like, we don't have a lot of disposable income. And so going into a movie is really crazy expensive anymore, right? And so because they're just blowing up the prices because they can, and because again, you got to make that 15%, every year increase every year for your stockholders, and so the prices are crazy, and so for us as moviegoers, we're not willing to like put our money into crap that is coming out anymore. And so now I think the movie industry is seriously having to reflect on itself, which again,
the entertainment industry in general is doing this. The video game industry is having a very similar problem, only they have price controls in place so that like they can't jack up the prices of video games. And that's actually causing a whole other separate stretch of problems with the industry. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like hopefully we can do a turnabout where we get this, art for art's sake and stuff like that.
I'd watch a Steven Seagal vampire movie.
Oh my god! Oh my god, that would be.
I'm glad Tristan's not.
Mad Hatter has mesmerized me with economics. Yeah. Oh my god, that would be phenomenal, man. Like, it like the him just. I've come here to suck your blood. No, I'm gonna fight you.
Oh gosh, I'm getting the vapors.
I know, right?
Almost sounds kind of Barry White-ish.
We need to get Joe in here.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, we're past an hour and a half, so I guess we got to call it here. But I've already made the executive decision that we're just going to keep talking about vampire movies. I was originally thinking of putting it up to a vote, but seeing as how we only really got through a little bit more than one cycle, we got to keep going. We got more movies to talk about.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So we might make this the whole October just talking about vampire movies. So
well, we could even like if you ever wanted, we could even like continue vampire, but then move into just general monster movies in general, right? As
That'd
you
be fun.
right, and
because
so
like
we
I
can
told you
continue
guys,
to
my
build
next
off of it.
movie after this week, like I got Nosferatu coming out after this in like half an hour, and then next week I'm doing The Howling, so it'll be a werewolf movie, so we can talk about werewolf movies maybe next time. But like I really want to keep talking about vampire movies because I got a long list.
Yeah, no, right. And it's again they're like, to me especially, because like the vampire lends itself to such deep human psychology, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's ultimately the most like us, right? And so it's a great concept. Like, and again, that's the beauty of these monster movies in general, is that they're a reflection of our humanity, right? And some of the parts that we don't like to talk about, right? And so that's why Mary Shelley did so well, Bram Stoker did so well, like why so many of these different movies or different concepts did so well and why they've lasted with us is because they're a way of talking about our psychology and our darker parts without like with having some dissociation and detachment, right, from ourselves.
No, that's very well said.
Wow.
So I don't really have anything to add to that. So. But he's right. He's absolutely
Mic
right.
drop.
Yeah.
Boom.
So we shall continue this next week. Let's do some plugs. Like I said, I got a Nosferatu review coming out in less than half an hour. That was the inspiration behind this whole conversation. And next week we'll be doing this again on Sunday. So yeah. Sarah, do you have anything going on this week?
Yes. In fact, later tonight, Pons, Dan, and I will be live and doing the thing we're doing. So we got that. We'll be talking about monsters, or mostly they will, and I'll just make funny jokes or hit buttons. Yeah. So, yeah.
Tonight at 7, right?
Well, for my time.
Yeah, that's 7 your time. Yeah.
7's not before you. Yes, yeah.
I live in the past. I'm always in the past.
You're younger than all of us.
That's true. She's the youngest.
I'm the baby. Anyways, yeah. So we'll be doing that, and then Thursday I go live with Starkey, and then Saturday I go live with Triple B, and then Sunday I do this guy Geek. That doesn't sound right. I don't do him. I go on his panel. Clarifications there. I know there's a Nightbot out there that spreads rumors about me. Okay. But yeah, anyway, so there's that, and then if you're in my chat, everybody's got a branch, so grab everybody's channel, the thing you do, and there you go.
Okay, Harold, your turn.
Okay.
So next week, starting next week, all of our nighttime streams are moving to 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Saturdays and Tuesdays, we do 7 Days to Die with the Unapologetic Geek. Sometimes Raw when he's able to, when work doesn't conflict, and my wife Linda the Space Ninja. And we try to survive the zombie apocalypse. Thursdays with Anomaly, who was posted up here earlier. He and I do a Baldur's Gate playthrough where the audience chooses all of our decisions. And in a spooky manner, I'm carrying one of the companions' head with me because they chose all the things that led to like our potential companions being killed. And so I was like, I am holding on to this head because I really wanted her to be with us, and I'm going to keep her with us. And so that's a little bit spooky. Fridays, last Friday we played Demonologist, where we tried to exorcise houses, and that was literally the scariest game I've ever played. And I'm actually like screaming in it. Like if you go watch the video on demand, like it was terrifying.
I've got to give you a list of games that you have to play if you think that's the scariest video game.
Yeah. And so Demonologist is good. You don't understand. It is
good. I've seen some gameplay. It does look
and
good.
So but yeah, so I normally on Fridays we do my wife and I do Baldur's Gate, where we role play. I'm a necromancer and my wife is a Shadow Knight assassin. Don't forget the Vampire Hongun series. Nice. And then during the daytime I've been streaming Vampire for spooky season, which is a detective vampire medical story game that takes place in the Victorian area around the Spanish flu. And so you have to kind of figure out and understand the story and what's going on and piece together different mysteries and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Okay. Well, before we move on to Thrash, Tristan paid for it. He's got to get it.
Yay!
Thank you so much, Tristan. You are the best.
Oh, and I posted my Discord. Like, check out my Discord for any schedules and updates and stuff like that.
And Sarah said it best. We're doing a collaboration, both she, Danny, and myself tonight at 7 thrash time for hers. The rest of you are somewhere in the middle. And I have a couple of things I'm working on content wise, but I started. I should never have done this. I started working on a couple of different projects at once, so I'm not entirely sure which one I'm going to finish. Yeah, I know. I may actually have been into all of them. I haven't decided. But you should have something new content-wise for my channel. And on that, I must go. I have pressing matters to attend to. But I want to thank you guys all. This is an absolute blast, and I hope to see you all tonight. Ciao for now.
See you, Pons.
Bye.
He ran away.
Aw.
He was like, bye.
Okay, Tracy, you have anything to plug? Tracy, anything?
Oh, I thought you were talking to D-Man. No, just probably making a live on Monday or Wednesday.
Okay, cool.
For now, because I got something I'm working on, but I want to get more facts attached to it.
Oh my gosh, you want to be prepared? That's the opposite of me. Good job.
Hey.
And as per usual, I'm just living.
I was about to say,
What?
any final thoughts,
Aw.
David? Unlike the subjects of this video, yes, you are alive.
At least you're not frozen. Like some people I know.
Some people around here.
I love Tora. She knows that.
I don't
He's
know.
my
Now
brother
he's
from
questioning
another.
everything.
So anyway, thank you all for being here. And like I said, I'll see you next week.
Why?
Let me do the thing. I once again did not have it queued up because I'm unprepared.
Slacking.
Thank you and good night.